All right, so welcome back to another video. Now I realize I haven't done one of these in a while. I have had probably the busiest couple of months in a very, very long time. And so I appreciate I've not been active on socials. So I do have a lot to cover, a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss. So stick around to the end of this video to hear all about it. So main one is obviously account updates. What are my accounts looking like now? I've had a couple of blunders. So I have lost 2 accounts. I lost 50K funded and a 100K evaluation. Now, unfortunately, I lost these due to a really just silly mistake. Now, because I was so busy during this June period, I was not active trading. I wasn't trading a lot. I wasn't looking at the charts a lot. So I did not trade an account for 30 days. It was an Alpha Capital account. And so inactivity rule hit and I lost that account, and the same with the evaluation, which really is just like a silly mistake and kind of shouldn't be happening, but I was so preoccupied with other things that it just didn't happen. It is what it is. So currently I am now 280K funded and I have about 400K in evaluations, which I'll show you later. But that is the update. Finally had the gaff painted, so we're all good there. Like no more contractors around the house, so that's fine. We can actually start concentrating, start locking in, and yeah, hopefully start gaining some funding. So what I want to show you is a recent trade that I took actually yesterday on the 22nd of July, Wednesday short. Unfortunately, I was driving Monday, Tuesday, so I missed both the Monday, Tuesday positions, but I'll show you those as well. So let's jump straight into the charts. So this position basically originates from my DXY analysis. And so my expectation was higher DXY, which inevitably is lower euro dollar. Now, what I saw was we kind of had this dealing range here. Price traded into the discount of this dealing range, swept these previous weekly lows, failed to close below, and so my anticipation was to then target these previous weekly highs, which is are marked out up here. Obviously this was taken on Wednesday. Monday, Tuesday we had these big bullish candles, so I was just anticipating a continuation of this move to these highs. Again, targeting previous daily high, these relative equal highs up here. So pretty standard, pretty kind of a go-to setup for me. If I look on the 4-hour chart, which is kind of a little bit cleaner for me, again, we had the deviation of this kind of range, and then the natural anticipation is to reach the top of this range. And obviously we were respecting, excuse me, all of these bullish fair value gaps. And so really just standard, just trying to play this momentum higher. Nothing really too crazy or you know, fancy here. Looking to EU, again, trading this dollar bias, so EU definitely wasn't as clear, but you know, we still had the 4-hour respecting these bearish arrays here, and then 1 hour we had a nice H1 sweep within premium of this H1 range. And then obviously I'm just targeting all of this low resistance liquidity because this is a very choppy move higher. So I'm just looking to target basically those previous daily lows. And then the entry came on the 15-minute. We had a sweep of previous 15-minute high and then a closure below all of these up candles. So I set a sell limit after this candle close, and then stop at the highs, and then we just play this one forward, and it basically just chopped around. I think we formed some SMT at the lows, but that was the trade again. It's a bit unfortunate that I wasn't able to capitalize on these Tuesday shorts because they were incredibly clean. Obviously, you know, just very much a go-to setup on Tuesday as well as Monday. You know, that's unfortunately the crux of traveling during the week, is that, you know, I'm inevitably going to miss some trades, but that is what it is. But really, that's been the first trade that I've taken in a long time. But now I really don't have too many plans upcoming. So we should be able to capitalize on every position. Obviously, we're coming into August, coming into that summer period, which is fine. I'm okay with trading fairly range bound markets. You know, I have a couple of different models that allows me to do that. And actually August last year was probably my best ever month. So will we see the same thing? Who knows? But that was a trade from yesterday, Tuesday, 22nd of July. Prop Match were kind enough to sponsor this video series on YouTube, so shout out to them. Anything you need to know about prop firms these days, whether that's reviews, payouts, where they're from, the number of years in operation, what platforms they have, the max allocation, the best discounts, all of this information can be found on propfirmmatch.com. So check out the link in the description, and thanks again to Prop Firm Match. Okay, so this is currently the evaluations that I'm working with, 400K in evaluations. I did purchase FTMO 200K, and so I am trading that again, 2% risk. And then I've got my 3 alpha capital challenges as well, 100K and then 2 50K as well, amounting to 400K. You can see the different returns of each of these accounts. So yeah, not too much happening. Haven't really been taking any trades. So this is kind of unfortunate. They probably would have phase 1 at least would have been passed by now, but is what it is. We're kind of starting with a nice clean slate, and yeah, that's what we're working with moving forward. I'm not purchasing any new challenges just yet, just based on market conditions, the way that things are. Once you know, the trades start picking up and we start getting somewhat of our edge back, and you know, some good clean moves, then I will start purchasing more challenges. But for now, this is what I'm sticking with, and this is what we are rolling with. In previous years, it would have been very easy for me to start chopping and changing strategies now, start looking for what's the best strategy. But that sort of question is what amateur traders and what unprofitable traders ask themselves. They ask themselves, what's the best strategy now? What's working? When really should be asking yourself is, what market regime are we in? Because clearly not all strategies are going to work all the time, every month of the year. That's just the way markets work. That's just the way cycles work. That's just the way market regime works. And clearly this year has not been conducive for a lot of strategies. And that's okay. That's fine. That's how trading works. But I think that's why you're seeing this huge transition from people moving from FX to futures, which is fine, because ultimately you should go where the opportunity is. But it doesn't solve the inherent problem and the reason that you're making this change internally, because you're looking for something that's always going to work. Now, going to futures, sure, it might work for a bit of time, but you're going to get choppy periods. You're going to get these moves where things aren't working. And then what you're going to do, you're going to switch back to another market. You can't keep chopping and changing every time. You have to understand that this is how markets work. This is how regimes and cycles and seasons just work. So you can either learn to, learn to, roll with the waves, or you can jump from ship to ship every time trying to find different waves. But inevitably you're still going to get rough seas. So you just have to learn how to trade those environments, how to manage yourself in those environments, and how to get better, and what to actually focus on, because clearly now is not the time to be focusing on taking loads of positions, to be taking loads of funding challenges. Now is the time to sit on a bit of defense, to sit back, wait for market conditions to clean up. Yes, maybe trade some futures if you want, but really focus on your system. How can I, have a few systems to work in different market conditions? How can I actually trade these range bound markets? How can I trade trending markets and have different models for different scenarios? Because everything's going to be different. Everything's going to perform differently at different times. And that's, unfortunately, I think what most people struggle to come to terms with. So that is the update. We are obviously moving into August. Now, August last year was probably my best ever month. I made about 20% return. So is August this year going to be as good? Who knows? We'll wait and see. We'll take the positions when they come, and obviously I'll bring you along for the full transparent journey. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.